Well, hello there, fellow pilgrims, friends of the Most High God, members of the army of the Lord, friends new. Welcome, welcome. I am one pilgrim, One Pilgrim's Musings. We are musing through the Psalms. One of the things that I like to do each time I muse through the Psalms as a daily devotional and share with you is to add something different each time. Different translation that's a good translation that you might not have access to. Like last time we went through the Israel Bible, which we had some commentary on things pertinent to Israel and sometimes the history of the particular Psalms. And it's a very interesting journey. And this time we are utilizing the New King James Version as we muse through the Psalms, and I am using a concise history of the Psalms that was researched and written by Pastor and Dr. Jack Hyles, who has gone on to his reward, and he wrote something that is in the public domain called "The Story Behind the Psalms," and he has given a concise breakdown of who the author was, mostly David, but sometimes others, the story behind the psalm, and the way that it was used by God's people, or perhaps like in the last psalm, Psalm number 9, a story from his own life that kind of showed the story behind the psalm and how it fit. And yesterday's was a tough one, but it's an interesting, fascinating story just the same. And I need to apologize because I said I was going to use the New King James Version, and I am. But I was doing some study of my own, on my own, in my own devotional earlier in the day, and I had my the Bible that I use when I create these. It's an online Bible. When I create these muses, these podcasts, I had open to the King James Version and doing work, setting up the lighting and getting green screens set up so I can have a background now that I'm learning how to do a little video editing. I didn't notice that I was using the King James. The language is a little harder to understand, but I am sure that you got the point. We will go back to utilizing the New King James Version now that I have caught myself, because that's what we said we were going to do. So, I apologize. I think it was the 8th and the 9th that I used the King James Version with, because as I said, there was a break in when I was doing these to be scheduled for later, and I was doing some of my own work and research, and I happened to be utilizing the Old King James while I was doing some reading, and I didn't notice that I didn't change for the podcast. My apologies. Okay, minor thing, but I want to be honest with you always as to the best of my ability. So, here we are on Psalm number 10. So let us see what Dr. Hyles' research came up for the story behind the Psalms for number 10. It is a psalm of King David's, and the story behind the psalm, well, according to Pastor Hyles, the 10th psalm is a continuation of the 9th psalm. Oh boy, see where this goes. Some have suggested that they should be combined into one, but that's not important. There's a lot of breaks in the Bible we don't understand because, and I'm adding this to Dr. Hyles' commentary, as most of you know, there were no chapter breaks and things like that when it was originally written. That was done later. So sometimes we have this situation. But I don't know that it's that important because they do follow each other one right after the other. So let's move on from there. As Dr. Hyles said, that is not that important. It does, however, deal with the same subject, and we need to know that, and was written perhaps at the very same time and under the same circumstances, which would make sense if it was just actually one big psalm. So, we already know a little bit about the history of that psalm, so let's see the way it was used by God's people. Now, this also was a psalm used in times of bereavement. Makes sense? And Pastor Hyles says that through the years, when he has been bereaved, he has taken refuge in Psalms 9 and 10. And he states that on December 13th of 1950, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Mother's Day, he stood at the casket of his father. His heart was broken for many reasons. And then suddenly he felt a hand on his arm. It was holding him tightly. He thought perhaps some friend had grasped his arm in an effort to comfort him and give him strength. He turned to see who the friend was, but saw no one there. This is Dr. Jack's story, so we let him tell it. Then suddenly it dawned upon him that the friend of friends had touched me with his hand. Okay. I could feel it not only in my heart, but I could feel it on my arm. A mother had been taken from a home. After the funeral service, the grief-stricken father and son returned for their first night at home without their wife and mother. And during the night, the little boy began to whimper. His dad asked him if he could help. Obviously, he's moved on to a different story here. Whereupon the little boy replied through the darkness, "Daddy, is your face turned towards me?" The father reached his big hand out and held the boy's, the little son's, and said, "Yes, son, my face is turned towards you." When we are bereaved, we may look to our Heavenly Father and ask, "Father, is your face turned toward me?" The answer is always in the affirmative. His face is truly turned towards us, especially in hours of bereavement. So be it. God is a God of judgment, but He is mostly a God of mercy and grace and love. There you have Dr. Jack's story behind the psalm with a little story with it. And now let's have Psalm number 10. This time, I got it right. We're in the New King James Version. Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride persecutes the poor. Let them be caught in the plots which they have devised. For the wicked boasts of his heart's desire. He blesses the greedy and renounces the Lord. The wicked in his proud countenance does not seek God. God is in none of his thoughts. His ways are always prospering. Your judgments are far above, out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he sneers at them. He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue is trouble and iniquity. He sits in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places he murders the innocent. His eyes are secretly fixed on the helpless. He lies in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He catches the poor when he draws him into his net. So he crouches. He lies low that the helpless may fall by his strength. He has said in his heart, God has forgotten. He hides his face. He'll never see me. Arise, O Lord. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the humble. Why do the wicked renounce God? He has said in his heart, you will not require an account. But you have seen, for you observe trouble and grief, to repay it by your hand. The helpless commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness until you find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. The nations have perished out of his land. Lord, you have heard the desire of the humble. You will prepare their heart. You will cause your ear to hear, to do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may oppress no more. So be it. There you have Psalm number 10 and the story behind the psalm. God willing, your humble servant will return tomorrow, and we will take a look at Psalm number 11 and the story behind the psalm according to the research of Dr. Jack Hyles. Until tomorrow, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and give you that perfect shalom. This is One Pilgrim. For now, I'm out.